Two brothers, different destiny, a tale of rivalry, deception, and ultimately redemption. This is the story of Jacob and Esau, the sons of Isaac and the grandsons of Abraham. Stick with us as we unravel their incredible journey. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on more stories from the Bible. The story of Jacob and Esau begins in the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verses 21 to 22. Isaac, the son of Abraham and Sarah, was married to Rebekah, and for many years they had children. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife, because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, and God spoke to her directly. Genesis 25, verse 23. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." This prophecy revealed to Rebekah that her two sons would not only be different in temperament, but would also play a significant role in the unfolding of God's plan. The older son would serve the younger, which was a reversal of the customary practice where the older son received the birthright and blessing. Genesis 25, verses 24 to 26. When the time came for Rebekah to give birth, she had twins. Esau, the firstborn, came out red and covered with hair, and was named Esau, which means hairy or rough. Jacob, the second twin, was born grasping his brother's heel, which led to his name, Jacob, meaning he who grabs the heel or deceiver. As the boys grew, they became quite different from each other. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home, but Rebekah favored Jacob. One day, Esau returned home from the fields, exhausted and famished. He found Jacob cooking a stew, and in his hunger, he said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. Jacob, always the shrewd one, seized this opportunity to take advantage of his brother's weakness. Jacob saw an opportunity and said, "Sell me your birthright, and I'll give you some stew." The birthright, which was a major inheritance and blessing in that time, was typically given to the firstborn son. Esau, in his hunger and frustration, dismissed the importance of the birthright and agreed to sell it to Jacob. In that moment, Esau made a rash decision. He swore an oath, selling his birthright to Jacob in exchange for food. Jacob, ever the opportunist, took advantage of the situation, but it came with a deep and lasting consequence for Esau. Genesis 25, verses 33 to 34. But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Esau's impulsive decision to sell his birthright foreshadowed deeper struggles to come. His disregard for the spiritual significance of his birthright would lead to further loss and conflict in his life. As Isaac grew old, his eyesight began to fail him, and he knew that his time was drawing near. He decided to give Esau, his firstborn, the blessing that was traditionally reserved for the firstborn son. Isaac loved Esau for the wild game he brought back from hunting, and he was eager to bless him before he died. Genesis 27, verses 1 to 4. Isaac he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," he answered. Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your equipment, your quiver and bow, and go out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Isaac's words were clear. He wanted Esau to go hunting, prepare a special meal for him, and return to receive the blessing. However, Rebekah, who overheard this conversation, had a plan of her own. She knew that God had spoken to her while she was pregnant, revealing that the older son, Esau, would serve the younger son Jacob. She also knew that Jacob, her beloved son, was meant to receive the blessing instead of Esau. Now Rebekah, understanding that Isaac was about to bless Esau, devised a plan to deceive Isaac into blessing Jacob instead. Genesis 27 verses 5 to 8. Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it." Rebekah knew Isaac's preferences and was familiar with his fondness for the food Esau made for him. Jacob, however, had a concern. He was not as hairy as Esau, and Isaac might recognize the deception through his touch. This is where Rebekah's cunning came into play. She made sure that Jacob would wear Esau's clothes and covered his hands and neck with the goatskins to imitate the rough, hairy texture of his brother's body. She also prepared the meal just as Isaac liked it. So she instructed Jacob, Genesis 27 verses 9 to 17. "Go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies." Jacob said to Rebekah, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a man with smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing." His mother said to him, "My son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me." So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she prepared some tasty food, just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goatskins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. Jacob, though hesitant, decided to go along with his mother's plan. He took the food and the special clothes and went to his father. When Isaac heard Jacob's voice, he was initially suspicious, thinking it might be Esau disguised. Isaac questioned the identity of his son, but Jacob lied and told him that he was Esau. Genesis 27 verses 18 to 24. He went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes, my son," Isaac answered. "Who is it?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord your God gave me success," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he proceeded to bless him. Isaac, still uncertain, asked one last time for confirmation. Jacob again lied, telling Isaac that he was indeed Esau. Isaac, convinced by the feel of the goatskins, ate the meal that Jacob had prepared and then gave him the blessing he had intended for Esau. Genesis 27 verses 25 to 29. Then he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He answered, "I am." He said, "My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine and drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you, and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." This blessing was not just a simple ritual. It was a transfer of authority and promise that would shape the future of Jacob and Esau. Isaac's words to Jacob, intended for Esau, were powerful. Isaac gave Jacob the blessings of prosperity, power, and dominion over his family and enemies. As soon as Jacob left Isaac's presence, Esau returned from hunting. He had prepared a meal for his father, eager to receive his blessing. But when he entered Isaac's tent and presented the food, Isaac was shocked. He realized that he had been deceived by Jacob. Genesis 27 verses 30 to 33. After Isaac finished blessing him and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau," he answered. Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him. And indeed he will be blessed." Esau was devastated. He cried out in disbelief and begged his father for a blessing of his own. Isaac's response was filled with regret, but he confirmed that the blessing could not be undone. Genesis 27 verses 34 to 37. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? He has deceived me these 2 times. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau's cry was full of pain, and Isaac could not change the blessing he had given Jacob, but he did offer Esau a consolation. Genesis 27 verses 38 to 40. Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau was told that he would live a difficult life, but ultimately, he would break free from Jacob's dominance. Despite the pain, Esau's destiny had been sealed, and Jacob was the one who had received the blessing meant for the firstborn. After Jacob deceived Isaac and received the blessing that was meant for Esau, the tension between the brothers grew. Esau was enraged and plotted to kill Jacob once their father Isaac had died. Rebekah, overhearing Esau's plan, quickly warned Jacob and advised him to flee to her brother Laban in Paddan Aram, modern-day Haran. She told Isaac that it was better for Jacob to go away for a while and marry one of Laban's daughters. Isaac, upon hearing Rebekah's reasoning, agreed that Jacob should go to Paddan Aram. He then blessed Jacob again, instructing him to marry a woman from Laban's family and reminding him of the promises God had made to Abraham. Jacob then left Beersheba and began his journey to Paddan Aram. On his journey, Jacob stopped for the night at a place he later named Bethel. There, he had a dream of a ladder reaching up to heaven, with angels ascending and descending on it. God spoke to Jacob in this dream, confirming the promises made to Abraham and Isaac, and assuring him that he would be with him wherever he went. Jacob awoke from his dream in awe and realized that the place was holy. He made a vow that if God would be with him and protect him on his journey, he would dedicate a tenth of everything he received to God. Upon reaching Paddan Aram, Jacob met Rachel, the daughter of Laban, and fell in love with her instantly. He agreed to work for Laban for 7 years in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. However, Laban deceived Jacob on the night of the wedding. Instead of giving Rachel, Laban gave him his older daughter Leah. Jacob realized the deception only after the wedding night and confronted Laban. Laban justified his actions by stating that it was not customary to marry off the younger daughter before the older one. Jacob then worked another 7 years for Laban to marry Rachel as well. The two sisters, Leah and Rachel, both bore Jacob children, but it was a difficult and sometimes painful rivalry. Leah was able to have children, while Rachel struggled with infertility until God finally gave her a son, Joseph. After many years of working for Laban, Jacob decided it was time to return to Canaan. On his journey back, he heard that Esau was coming to meet him with 400 men, and he feared that Esau still harbored resentment and might attack him. Jacob divided his household into groups and sent gifts ahead to appease Esau. He had sent his family and possessions across the Jabbok River, while he stayed behind alone to pray and seek God. That night, a mysterious and divine encounter took place, one that would forever change Jacob's life and name. Genesis 32, verses 22 to 24. That night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. The man who wrestled with Jacob was no ordinary man. It was a manifestation of God himself. This wrestling match was both physical and spiritual, representing Jacob's lifelong struggle with people, his circumstances, and ultimately with God's will for his life. Genesis 32, verse 25. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Although Jacob displayed incredible perseverance, the man demonstrated his divine power by merely touching Jacob's hip and dislocating it. Yet even in pain, Jacob refused to let go, determined to receive a blessing. Genesis 32, verse 26. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." This marked a turning point in Jacob's life. His tenacity, though flawed, revealed his desire for God's favor and his readiness to rely fully on the Lord. Genesis 32, verses 27 to 28. The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." This renaming symbolized Jacob's transformation. No longer would he be defined as Jacob, the deceiver. He was now Israel, meaning he struggles with God or God prevails, reflecting his new identity as a man who had encountered God and emerged with a changed heart and purpose. The blessing and the mark of the encounter. Jacob's request for a blessing was granted, but the man did not reveal his name. Instead, he blessed Jacob, leaving him with both a spiritual mark, a new identity, and a physical one, a limp from his injured hip. Genesis 32, verses 29 to 30. Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." Jacob's limp served as a reminder of his encounter with God, and the place where this divine wrestling took place was named Peniel, meaning face of God. Jacob's encounter with God gave him newfound courage and humility as he approached Esau. He bowed down to the ground 7 times as Esau approached with 400 men. Instead of violence, Esau ran to Jacob, embraced him, kissed him, and wept. Esau then asked Jacob about the gifts he had sent, and Jacob insisted that he accept them as a gesture of goodwill. Esau, moved by Jacob's humility, accepted them and said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." Jacob, humbled by his wrestling with God and the favor shown by Esau, acknowledged that seeing Esau's face was like seeing the face of God, reflecting his gratitude for the reconciliation. Jacob and Esau parted ways in peace, and Jacob continued his journey toward Canaan, settling in Shechem. He built an altar there and called it El-Elohe-Israel, marking his renewed relationship with God. Jacob's reconciliation with Esau marked the end of their bitter rivalry. Over time, the descendants of Jacob, the Israelites, and the descendants of Esau, the Edomites, would become 2 distinct nations. However, The brother's story serves as a reminder of God's sovereignty and his ability to bring healing and reconciliation, even after deep wounds. Jacob's journey was one of transformation, from a deceiver to a man chosen by God, renamed Israel, the father of a great nation. His story reminds us that no matter how flawed we are, God's plans for us are perfect and unshakable. Thank you for joining us on this incredible story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who need to hear the powerful lessons of Jacob and Esau. Remain blessed as you keep seeking for the hidden truth in the Bible.